Hello, hello, Steve Fletcher here, and welcome to November's Vinyl Corner. That's right, it's another monthly instalment of my video blog where I talk you through the vinyl purchases that I've made this month, as well as pulling out a random one. In fact, a random selection today because we've reached the letter J from the alphabet. Every month I go through the alphabet and pull out a few little selections that pique my interest and I thought you might like to see. And today we've landed on a few J's. So we're going to do that. I'm kind of doing like a double vlog thing with this one. So you might be watching this under the banner of Vinyl Corner, but you might also be watching this under the banner of my personal rankings of Dire Straits live albums. That's right, because today we're going to be talking about this box set, which was released earlier this month at the beginning of November. It is the only thing I've bought this month because, well, quite frankly, it was a little bit expensive. I'm so glad I've got it, though. You're welcome, actually, quite frankly, because I take credit for this box set. I really, really do. Because, I don't really. But what basically has happened over the last forever is anytime anyone from Dire Straits headquarters has breathed near social media, I've put a comment underneath saying we really are past time for a Dire Straits live box set. We need Alchemy restoring to its full concert length with all the missing tracks restored. We need On the Night restored to its full track length with all the missing tracks restored. We need some other rare and live stuff which we know is in the archive. And voila, we've got it. So here is, it's empty. I've got them all out here. So here is the box. Basically what this box set consisted of, couldn't get my word out then, is a few live albums. All the officially released Dire Straits live albums. So, and plus a bonus of Dire Straits live at the Rainbow Theatre from 1979. We've got Dire Straits live at the BBC. In fact, I'll show you that way. That's probably a little bit better. We've got the Encores EP that was released. We've got the On the Night and Alchemy. All of which have been restored, extended, redone to bring them back more or less to their full concert glory. What is sort of omitted from this, and it is quite a big question mark on where this material is any representation whatsoever of arguably Dire Straits' biggest period, which is the Brothers in Arms period. We've got absolutely nothing from the Brothers in Arms tour, when we know full well that several dates on the Brothers in Arms tour were pro-recorded, pro-filmed. Now, what I can only assume they're doing, I mean, it's November 2023 when this was released, so you're talking, 18 months-ish until the 40th anniversary of the Brothers in Arms album being released. Obviously, that's the biggest album that Dire Straits ever released. So I can only assume, I don't know, but I can only assume that they're going to gear up to some sort of Brothers in Arms box set in 2025. Like I say, I don't know. I'm just speculating as to why that material, which seems to be so incredibly readily available, has not been included on this. But it has taken a huge archive trawl to get us, a lot of this material. Anyway, I'm rambling. What I thought I would do to tie this in line with a previous vlog that I did, which I'm going to put up there somewhere, is a link to that vlog. What I did was I did my best... No, that's not right. I did a countdown of my personal preference of Dire Straits albums, a countdown of my favourite Dire Straits... I can't get my words out today. The order that I would listen to Dire Straits, what I think is the best, blah, blah, blah. What I think are the best, down to the worst Dire Straits albums. I mean, come on, they haven't ever done a bad album. But anyway, so I thought I'd do that. So that I'd go through the material that's on this box set and rank it in order of my personal preference. First, I'm just going to go through a few little extra goodies that you get in this box set. The first thing being these lovely prints, which I think I'm going to have to try and get framed. These lovely sort of Instagram square prints. We've got the Alchemy Live album. We've got the Dire Straits live at the BBC. We've got live at the Rainbow. On the Night, Encores. Just this sort of the cover of this album, of this box set. So they're quite nice. We've also got this lovely booklet, which is a really well put together booklet. It's got a really nice sort of long article sort of detailing Dire Straits' rise from, playing in grotty little basement pubs to playing in stadiums and arenas around the world. It's a lovely little booklet. It's really nicely put together, very well done. It's got some nice pictures in there. So yeah, there we go. It's lovely. Yes, so I'm going to go through these in the order, my personal preference of my favourites. So starting with my least, it's not really my least favourite, but it's the one that I just find the most pointless addition to this box set. I mean, this was released for Record Store Day 2 or 3 years ago, and they've basically just thrown it in. And it's a really weird one because it basically represents when the On the Night video, I'm talking about video back in the day, was released. It had, it wasn't the full concert, but it was a longer concert. Had more tracks on it than we got on the CD of On the Night. What was missing was basically The Bug, Solid Rock, and the Local Hero Wild theme, which were included on the video but weren't included on the CD. So they kind of did this as like a little sort of spare EP. They called it Encores, whereas only Solid Rock and Local Hero Wild theme were the Encores. And they also put Latest Trick on this. It's a weird one to include this when they were restoring On the Night to its full concert. Why would they? So I'm kind of like, and I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about the On the Night vinyl. So I'm kind of going to come back to this idea of this extras album in a little while's time to sort of tie it into On the Night. But that's the one I would sort of going to pretty much say that I'm going to listen to the least. Followed by this one, and this is I feel a bit of a sort of Dire Straits traitor to be putting this in there as sort of my least favourite of all of them. What this is, I think it was like the final night of the 79 tour, and it was ridiculously long. I mean, Dire Straits were famous for really working hard, really slogging their guts out on the road. And it kind of shows, there's a strange adrenaline to the performance on this. I don't know if they knew it was being recorded or what. There's certainly a bit of a party element going on, like a party that you're not invited to. But their playing is really weird. They play all the tracks at a good sort of 20-25 beats per minute faster than you feel they should be. And there's also a really weird vibrato in Knopfler's playing. Every note seems to be played with this sort of, I've drunk 5 cups of coffee, caffeine frenzy. So it's a really strange listening experience. So I don't think this represents a very good indication of what Dire Straits were like. Maybe it does. Maybe it just shows that they were a better studio band than they were a live band. Who knows? Plus, we've got these strange sort of rock and roll covers at the end. And again, I just don't think that they really fit very well. It's lovely to hear Phil Lynott, of course, but I just don't think these fit very well. So yeah, this is sort of my least favourite of the vinyls that we've got. Glad we've got it, but I'm not going to listen to it very much. Which then again brings on to this one. And this, I think, is a much better live album than that, obviously, because it comes after in my list. And I just think they're a little bit more with it, which is weird because these tracks were performed in 1978, whereas those tracks were performed in 1979. So, but I do think I think maybe it's because it's in the studio, recording live in a studio. There's just that little bit less adrenaline going on. So the performances feel a little bit more under control and a little bit better represented as a band. So this is, a really good one to have, and I do quite like it. And it's also got this extra edition of Tunnel of Love, which was recorded on the Old Grey Whistle Test. So again, a studio live performance from 1981. So yeah, I really like that. Silver medal, second, is On the Night. Now, I love this. I obsessed hugely about this album when I was a kid. I think Knopfler's playing on this tour was the best he's ever played. I think his playing is absolutely... He's on fire. He really does play insanely well. His Pensa Shure guitar sounds amazing on tracks like Calling Elvis and Heavy Fuel and stuff like that. It's an odd one though, this one. What I find really strange, I mean, You and Your Friend as well, it just sounds amazing. Some of these tracks are the definitive versions of the tracks. I couldn't say that anymore about some of these tracks. So you've got Calling Elvis, Walk of Life, Heavy Fuel, You and Your Friend, On Every Street, Money for Nothing, Brothers in Arms. Those to me are absolutely phenomenal versions of these tracks. The thing that I find really odd about this, the way they've presented this, and that comes back to the Encores release, is it's still not the full proper representation of the concert. So The Bug, which was performed in between Romeo and Juliet and Private Investigations, is still missing from this. We still don't have Solid Rock on this, and we still don't have the Wild theme on this. We also have Tunnel of Love and Telegraph Road. And Tunnel of Love and Telegraph Road were hardly ever, if ever, performed together on the same shows. And then we've got this sort of really long section of cuts from the On Every Street album, which, no offense, it's just not their best album. So you've got some stuff that is just not really required, I would say. So things like Fade to Black, When It Comes to You, I Think I Love You Too Much was sort of written around that era, didn't really get included on anything. So it makes it a really long listening experience. And what they would have been better off doing, in my humble opinion, was presenting this as the concert, as it was a full concert, the proper set list, and then doing a secondary bonus tracks EP of some of these other songs that weren't performed very often. So like Tunnel of Love, Fade to Black, When It Comes to You, I Think I Love You Too Much. That would have been a better way, in my humble opinion, of presenting this concert. You've also got on here, which no offence to Chris White, who I'm sure is a lovely guy and plays the saxophone insanely well, but I do wish he would just go away on this. Some of the sax stuff on this, it's just... Ooh, I mean, I'm not the saxophone's biggest fan anyway, but these sort of trying to shoehorn in sax solos, Chris White's only really doing what he's told, so I can't really blame him. So no offense to you, Chris White. But you've got these massive sax solos, these bombastic sax solos in Romeo and Juliet, extra sax solos in Private Investigations, Tunnel of Love as well. It's just like, oh my God, the only thing that sax is needed on is Your Latest Trick. And that's it. So again, and I can kind of see why they've done it, because, Dire Straits are performing in these big stadiums now. And sort of, I suppose they need something else, another element to capture people's attention. Because how do you capture the attention of, 25,000 people? There you go. Which also brings me to the point of things like Two Young Lovers, Tunnel of Love, and it pains me to say it, Telegraph Road. They just don't work in this stadium setting. Dire Straits they were just never meant to be a huge stadium band. And it shows. You've got these sort of intimate storytelling songs like Tunnel of Love and Telegraph Road, which just don't work on this giant arena stadium scale, I don't think. And you can also, Knopfler's Pensa, I've said it sounded amazing. It's just the wrong guitar to use clean on those songs. It sounds really woolly. It's not got any cutting through like the Strats and the Schecters do. It's a really odd thing. And you can just tell on Tunnel of Love and Telegraph Road, I think you can just tell that Knopfler is just can't wait to go home. You know, he's just not giving any, he's just not putting any interest in the vocal delivery or the solos, you know, and I think that's really borne out on Telegraph Road especially. You know, he doesn't even pick up an electric guitar until sort of halfway through the song. So there you go. So that being said, I love this album, but it's way less than perfect. And it's kind of like a difficult duality between being the absolute best Dire Straits live album and the absolute worst at the same time. So yeah, it's kind of like a, you know, good effort, but should try harder, really. It's a strange one, but there you go. Which brings me to this. I love this album. I have to say, this is, quite frankly, I've always said it, I've said it for years, it's one of the greatest live albums ever released. And it's been crying out, or I've been crying out anyway, for a remaster, redo, re-edition, re-edit, recut to make it the full album for such a long time. I cannot say anything wrong about this. The only thing I can say wrong about this, actually, is we've not got the full Portobello Bell. But if that's all I'm going to complain about with this, then I think we've kind of done okay. The performances on this, I will have words with anyone who can find better versions of pretty much all of this. Sultans of Swing, I mean, I'm sort of famous for doing one of my first guitar tuition videos was Sultans of Swing, and it's up there. So I think it's the greatest version of Sultans of Swing that's ever been done. Ditto, Tunnel of Love, Telegraph Road, and kind of goes back to what I was saying about the arena side of things, is this small theatre, or sort of small to medium-sized theatre, Hammersmith Odeon's not a huge venue, does show Dire Straits at their absolute best. I think they were at the peak of their powers. Love Over Gold era is my absolute favourite, not to spoil the Dire Straits albums ranked video that I did. So yeah, this is absolutely phenomenal. I'm so happy that we've finally got it in its full mode, full concert. And the thing about the original one with the edits involved is you knew that stuff had gone missing, because when you play Once Upon a Time in the West, you heard them go into industrial disease and it was faded out. Similarly, you heard them come out of industrial disease, it was faded in to get you to Espresso Love. You had this little sort of that reggae Irish folk jam that they do in Portobello Bell, which was included a little bit in Tunnel of Love, but not entirely there. When he's introducing Two Young Lovers, he says, this is from the EP 2. In other words, we've already done a song from the EP, but we the public, haven't heard it. So it was obvious there was some stuff missing from that show. Love Over Gold was released as a live single, but it wasn't from this show, but it wasn't included. So anyway, yeah, it was obvious there was stuff that was missing, and it all just needed putting together and restoring, basically. And I'm so glad that we've got it. So this is number one. Not only is it my number one favourite Dire Straits live album, it's one of my all-time favourite live albums. It's a phenomenally good live album. And I'll have words with anyone who doesn't think so. So yes, there it is. The Dire Straits live 1978 to 1992 box set, which was my purchase for November 2023. I did actually purchase it in about September when it was announced, but yeah, it didn't arrive till November. Which brings us to J. Now, oh my God, as you can see, I've got a lot of J. I'm not going to bore you with J. Basically, it comes down to Billy Joel, Elton John, and Michael Jackson. I do separate my vinyls. I keep them in sort of vintage vinyl and new vinyl. Vintage is basically the stuff that was released back in the day, the original versions. Some of them are a bit crackly, some of them are a bit bent and broken. versus the new ones, which I've obviously bought from the shop, you know, within the last couple of years. They're in great condition. I keep them in good condition and, you know, listen to them on really high quality equipment so they don't crackle and crack. So anyway, Billy Joel. So I've got a lot of Billy Joel. I love Billy Joel. I would happily be the guitarist in a Billy Joel tribute band. You know, hint, hint, anyone out there looking for a guitarist? Vintage Billy Joel, I've got Piano Man, Street Life Serenades, Glass Houses, 52nd Street, Innocent Man, Greatest Hits Volume 1 and 2. I remember listening to this a lot back in the day. My dad has a copy of this, and I sort of got my love of vinyl from stealing and secreting away to listen to my dad's vinyl collection. So I love this. Brilliant Greatest Hits album. Stormfront and The Bridge. Those are the vintage ones of Billy Joel that I've got. I also bought on Record Store Day, earlier this year, I bought new Billy Joel live at the Great American Music Hall. One of these, you know, artists coming up live shows that was really, really good. Elton John did one. I think it's that like 1170, something like that, live album where there's just the three of them. And it's brilliant. And oh, speaking of Elton John, I don't have any new Elton Johns. I do have only vintage ones. I've got Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, which you've kind of got to have, haven't you? I've got Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy, and I've got Sleeping with the Past. Which then brings us to the Jacksons. So we'll very quickly look at Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation. I remember this coming out when I was a kid. I would be, how old would I be? 9? 10 years old when I had this. So I kind of bought this as nostalgia, really, because I had it on tape. And I remember listening to it a lot. I remember listening to it at my cousin's house for some reason. I don't know why. Michael Jackson. I've got, this was bought new earlier on this year, but I do also have it in very good condition, vintage. I've got the Jacksons Victory, but solo Michael Jackson wise, we've got Dangerous, Thriller, Off the Wall. Oh, and another Jacksons one, the live Jacksons album, which is also brilliant. So lots of Jacksons, Joels and Johns to get through there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Please like. Please share. Please comment. Do all that stuff. It really helps my algorithm spread throughout the YouTube matrix and helps me grow my online business. I look forward to seeing you in December. It's going to be a bit of a proggy one. Thanks very much, boys and girls. Bye-bye.